Good morning. I am very sorry about the wobbly camera. I would normally like to do my intros while I'm not on the move, but this morning I have slightly underestimated what time it's all going to kick off. So what I'm doing is I'm heading down to Brothers Point to, fingers crossed, make it before the sky changes, if the sky changes. It's one of them mornings where it's not super promising, but it's been so long since I've filmed and photographed a morning, a sunrise. I figured I'm gonna have to get out and do one and do it properly. So today I'm heading down to Brothers Point and I'm hoping something epic is gonna happen. Fingers crossed. I'll see you there.
Woke up from a whisper, collared shirt down by my feet, stood on crowded bedroom rug, voices filled the rooms upstairs. Our Ford was warm before we drove.
The light is coming fast and I want a vantage point above the Brothers Point. So I need to head up there. See you at the top, out of breath. Feeling mighty warm, out of breath, but nothing quite like climbing something steep half an hour after you've woken up. Nothing quite like it. This is what I have come for today. And look how wild the water is all the way around the outside. Absolutely beautiful. But this outcrop of rock heading out into the sea, this is called Brothers Point. And there's a few elements that really make Brothers Point special. And there's a few elements, if I had the power, I would change. First of all, one of the things I'd change is that it faces out towards blank sea. Now, if I could have my way, it would face out towards the mainland and it would have mountains in the background. But one thing it does have is it has this huge inlet of water broken through this rock wall at some point in history. And that creates a really interesting piece of foreground. And that's why I've come so far back from Brothers Point. And I'm going to set my camera up on this ledge, because I want this bit of water in the foreground. And I need to quickly get set up before the last of the colour's gone, because I am a bit late this morning. Right, time to get that done.
Breakfast fresh on the stove. She walked out with the floral blouse. Back then, everyone was near.
So I've got my camera all set up now, and what I'm doing is a vertical panoramic compiled of 3 different images. One image being that interest in the foreground, that wave where it's all messy and noisy, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. The next image, I pan up until I get to Brothers Point, and then I focus on Brothers Point, focus on the wave, focus on Brothers Point, and then I'm getting the image nice and sharp all the way through. I'm focus stacking while creating that panoramic. Then, once I've done that, I'm going to drop in my freestop graduated ND filter on the front, and then I'm going to get the sky. But for the sky, I'm probably going to have to wait a little bit because the sky isn't really there, but I prefer landscape images. I find them a lot more neutral unless there's amazing light, but in dull conditions like this, before the sun has really risen, because the colours pop so much more. I find in blue hour, colours really become like a nice, sultry, dark, deep colour, especially the greens. They seem to get a bit washed out and a bit yellowy as soon as that sun gets up. So this is what I'm capturing now. I'm capturing that initial wave and foreground, Brothers Point. So I think the best way to show you what may possibly happen on the back of my screen, because I know the GoPro doesn't have the best zoom features or any zoom features, but here's the snow, perfect timing. What I've got is I've got this, obviously the headland coming out here and that looks beautiful, but I've got this amazing crack in the sky just forming above my image, and that's going to turn that part of the image from being flat and boring to being exciting. And all I need to make sure I check on this is my histogram. So if I take a little image, okay, so this is my image here. If I press up, look, so my histogram, it's telling me that nothing's blown out. So all of that detail in that crack I can bring back when I drop the highlights. And that's perfect, that's exactly what I want. All I want now is for that crack to be over here. And then that's going to really make this image from being Brothers Point into something real special. Here it comes. So that crack in the sky actually ended up being better than I expected. Because what it ended up doing is it curved est like this, straight down onto the point at the end of the point. Onto the end of Brothers Point. Makes much more sense. But, wow. Like, I've been here twice now, photographing, and every single time the sky has been bleak. The one time I remember to bring you along, it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed to make it interesting. I was never going to get the colour across there. I was never going to get anything other than drama. And I got what I wanted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head down onto Brothers Point and see what I can create down there. So I've ended up coming all the way out to the end of Brothers Point, and wow, the water is wild. The water is absolutely mental. Check this out. So I checked out the composition over there. There was a couple of things I didn't like, so I decided to sack that off completely. And I've come over to the other side of Brothers Point, where all the waves are actually coming from. And this side is wild. Check this out. And that's really the small set. Now, what I'd like to be able to do is compose an image that involves Kilt Rock. But the likelihood of being able to use a telephoto and capture that interest in the foreground, slim to none, because at the moment Kilt Rock is miles away. But what I have got is I've got this wild coast leading up to these beautiful little Skye houses up on the hill. The clouds in the background aren't that interesting, but I've got so much texture and so much going on in the foreground that, fingers crossed, I can make it work. And I think where this is going to have to be taken from is just over there. Right, let's go and check it out. So I've got some monster waves coming through right now, and I'm sure you've seen in the video already, and you can probably hear in the background. But they are massive. They have got so much power behind them. They're even creating green waves. But that's not what I'm photographing. Now the scene I've got is quite simple. I've got these little houses up on the hill in the distance, and I'm photographing the surge, the raw power of the water. I've got it on 1/6 of a second exposure, so I'm not capturing the explosiveness, just the motion and the power in that motion. And my God, the sea is alive right now, absolutely alive. What I've got on my camera, I've got my polarized on there, trying to take a little bit of that glare off, giving me that richer color in the water. And I'm just shooting and shooting and shooting, and one of them is going to be so special. Like, the waves are so big right now. And I've got these little houses in the distance, and I've got my graduated neutral density filter and darkening off the sky to make it even more moody, even more dramatic. It's looking good. It's looking real good. I'll show you what I've got from my viewfinder. So this is the scene I'm looking at. I'll open up my aperture a little bit more so you can see it better. So I've got this rock here, this rock getting pummeled by these big waves, and I've got this beautiful little shelf of rocks which is making these lovely little lines of water, and then I've got these little tiny houses up on the top, and they're kind of like my focal point, but all the real image is in the foreground. That's the foreground right here, and that is where it's all about. And these are some of the shots that I've already captured. Look at the raw power. Look at that one. That one's beautiful. And that one's beautiful. That's even beautiful. I quite like that one, the way it separates this rock face, and it's almost like a line straight across into the houses at the top. But scenes like this you can photograph for hours, because each time it's different. It's slightly different. So glad I've got today off. This is magical. This is amazing. And there's barely any wind today. All the wind was yesterday. Perfect. Couldn't ask for anything more. And what a morning it has been. Totally worth getting up out of bed. Totally worth it. So glad I did. But I think I'm going to call my morning here. I hope you've enjoyed the vlog, and I hope I've inspired you, if you do travel to Skye, to come to the beautiful Brothers Point, especially on a wavy day. Like, wow, just listen to that noise in the background. Absolutely incredible. But I'm going to finish up here. As always, be careful. Don't get yourself in trouble. And yeah, see you next time.